Hello everybody, Reverend Jacob here. As you can see, I'm in my car and I have a new just a dash kind of camera set up here, and I thought, since I have a new baby and there's lots of busyness and there's the oddness of the coronavirus situation, I was trying to figure out what would be a good way to create some content for our online viewers via Facebook and YouTube. So I had an idea to rant. Now, if you've ever had an extended conversation with me, you know I like to rant about things. So I thought, well, we could probably do this from my car. Just set up a camera, and every time I got to go somewhere and do an errand for baby or for family, I can get in some time to just have a little theological rant. And if it so inclines you to join in, you can do so. So welcome to our first episode to Jake's Quarantine Rants. Stay tuned. Welcome to Jacob's Quarantine Rants, and today I want to talk to you about the idea of a ministry of all believers. Now, this is, I think, a fundamental idea for a Christian faith. Now, a ministry of all believers is talking about ministry. So I want to make a distinction first before we go too far. Now, I am a minister, which is a paid, accountable minister in a church denomination, which means that my career and calling are unified together. So everybody has a calling from God, but mine is unified with my career. Now, you may be watching and you could have a completely different career. You could be a seamstress, you could be an architect, you could be a farmer, you could be a garbage man, I don't know, whatever you do, candlestick maker, there's an old song there. You may have a different career and a way that you make a living, but you still have a calling from God. Now, because as paid accountable ministers have a calling and career that are unified together, that means our 40 plus hours a week that we're dedicating to work, and I put that in quotes, work, is dedicated directly towards serving the church, serving communities, serving God, and being in ministry. But because we have a ministry of all believers, everybody who is a Christian, everybody who's in that body of Christ, is called to minister in one way or another. And right now, as you all know, the COVID-19 situation has put a challenge upon the church. We cannot gather in the ways we used to. We can't have our Sunday service and, our regular, expectations of dinners and events like we've always been used to. So now we are being challenged to minister in new ways. And I think what a glorious opportunity to practice and exercise the muscles of a ministry of all believers. So to help you understand this, I want to talk about how this functions. Now, there's a passage in one of the Pauline letters, and forgive me, I can't remember where it comes from off the top of my head. You'll come to know over time, I'm really bad with biblical references. I can remember kind of the gist of a passage, but I can never remember the number or locations of things. But anyways, I digress. The passage basically talks about the body of Christ and how, and it makes a parallel to the body, this portion of your body, your hand isn't going to be envious of the knee and kind of yell at the knee for being knee-like. And, it's basically saying that all the parts of the body have their own roles. They have their own time, and they all have to work to their capacities for the full body to work. And there's also an Old Testament passage that to everything there is a season. There's a time to sow seeds and a time to harvest. There's a time to cast stones, blah, blah, blah. Everything kind of has its purpose and functionality in God's will. And that kind of goes for the same with a ministry of all believers. Not everybody will have the same capacity in their personal ministry life as the other person. And that partly happens because we all have different spiritual gifts. Now, for example, I really enjoy preaching. And my sister, who you know, Eric Egasham, enjoys preaching. And David Burkhart enjoys preaching. He's one of our student ministers. And Barb McGill, I think she's starting to grow on preaching a little bit. She didn't love it when she first showed up. But they all have gifts towards preaching which they can share with the community. Now, maybe the idea of getting up and giving a sermon seems like a terrifying thing to you, but that Let's go to Barb McGill. Even though she has been doing some preaching, her focus is diaconal ministry, which is a lot more hands-on kind of ministry. Not such a heavy focus on the teaching and the preaching and leadership stuff, but more so a leadership in a different way where you're sitting with people, you're being immersed with the people, you're listening to people, you're offering pastoral care, you're walking alongside their journeys. It's a very focused style of ministry, and it's very beautiful. Very beautiful ministry. And that's just two examples, There are lots of ways to minister. There's people who minister via their music. I know we have several people who play piano for our multiple churches in our cluster, and they are offering a ministry to community by playing music for church, or maybe offering music support for funerals or weddings or baptisms or the like. Beautiful ministry work. I know there's people out there who have knitting or sewing skills that make prayer shawls, or they'll make little hearts to hold on to if you're in hospital, little prayer pillows. That is a form of ministry. We all have capacities to minister in a different way. And behind that ministry is the shared goal to share the stories of Jesus, the good news of the gospel, the hope for the resurrection, and just all those wonderful, wonderful things. And if we don't utilize what God has given us in our different capacities, we are kind of missing an opportunity. Now keep in mind, just like we all have different gifts, people learn and engage in different ways. Now in our Sunday worship service, we have some videos, and we have sermons, and we have hymns, and we got some more modern music, and we try to do a variety of things because people will learn spiritually and engage spiritually in different ways. So not every person will love the videos. Some people will think the videos are too fast. Well, that may not work for you, but it might be just what someone else needs to be spiritually fed. Just like this kind of video, I'm talking kind of quicker. This is kind of a rant. It's not scripted. I can trip over my words. For some people, this is going to be the least helpful thing in their journey spiritually. But other people will find it refreshing. I like that he's just kind of ranting and doesn't know where he's going. And I've actually gotten emails when I've done similar things before. People saying, this makes it feel very casual, and I don't need to be an expert to engage in this spiritual conversation. So we're all fed differently, and that's very important. That means if we're all fed differently, then we need a plethora and a litany of people to feed people in different capacities. And that's where the ministry of all believers is so important. Now, because we're in the COVID-19 situation, we are being challenged. The ways we used to minister, the things we're comfortable with, are kind of being left at the wayside. And now the church is being deployed to this world where we have to practice social distancing, we have to have each other at a physical arm's length, but that doesn't mean we need to have people at a spiritual arm's length. That doesn't mean we can't still reach out to people in different fashions. So if you have that gift for knitting, maybe that could be useful for right now, because you could send a little knitted gift to people who are stuck in a hospital. I would put a warning to let that gift sit for a 48-hour period or so to make sure there's no germs on it. But yeah, you could be sending letters or something like that, or calling people on the phone, reaching out and just offering a listening ear. Maybe you can engage online by leaving comments on these discussions, either for YouTube or Facebook, engaging in that way, or looking at charities, seeing which charities are looking for support and donations, how you can help and get involved. There is a lot of ways that we can still be active Christians participating in the world in a time of a pandemic. So I want you to just think about that right now. The ministry of all believers means that no matter what our situation is, no matter if our doors are open at the churches or not, the church is not gone still. The church has been deployed into the community, and we are working towards living out that call of Christ in our everyday actions. Well, this is our first of Reverend Jacob's Quarantine Rants is what I think I'm going to call them. And I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you soon. You just watched a Jacob's Quarantine Rant. segment where I drive around, do errands, and while I'm in the vehicle, I rant on a theological or spiritual issue. Now, these videos are unscripted and they're basically off the top of my head. So that means there's going to be mistakes because I'm not perfect. And I want you to point them out. So if I misquote something from the Bible, or if you think I said something wrong, or you think I said something good and you just want to chime in, feel free to leave comments. I won't get offended. I look forward to the conversation. So I encourage you to do that in the comment section below on Facebook or on YouTube. Take care. God bless.